So welcome to the Nutri Talks webinar. We had already one webinar last autumn about nutrient recycling in the Baltic Sea region, and this is continuation for it because there seemed to be a lot of interest to that. We joined Nutri and bioeconomy from the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region jointly to the organization of this webinar, and both of our policy areas are funded by the Interreg Baltic Sea Region program. And this webinar is also part of the EU Green Week. It's a partner event there, and worth checking out what they were discussing last week when they had the main event in Brussels. But this is what we will be going through today. I will not have a further introductions than showing you the program for today. First, we have 4 presentations about policies supporting nutrient recycling in different countries from Sweden and from Finland. The latest addition was Sari's part about the policy instruments in Finland, and the last stakeholder cooperation presentation was cancelled. But then we will have the second part after that, and we have presentations about ongoing projects, Fertitech, Synergy, Greenhood, and Biosol Farm, and then we will have discussion and a workshop. So basically, we can get started, I think, slowly. If Mats wants to take the floor.
So thank you very much. I'm Mats Johansson, working at the WWF Baltic Sea program based in Stockholm, and also working for the Swedish WWF office on eutrophication matters and Baltic Sea topics. I have been working a lot with nutrient recycling, and I have been the project leader of something called the Baltic Stewardship Initiative, which is a national project that I also have been policy oriented. So I've been asked to speak a little bit about the situation in Sweden at the moment. There are other Swedish experts in joining this meeting, so that might add on to or comment on this. But I will speak about this as I also been the secretary of a Swedish national inquiry on sustainable sludge management that was presented a few years ago. So from that background, I will speak a little bit to start with. So I will start sharing my screen now. And if you have questions to this, please put them in the chat, and Elsie and others maybe could help up sharing them, but I will try to move through this. So Swedish policy development towards nutrient recycling and experiences from the Baltic Stewardship Initiative, which is a project, is the title of this. And flying in on nutrient recycling from wastewater. This is not all nutrient recycling that I'm speaking about now, is that this is something that we've been working with and discussing and debating since, I don't know, since I started working in the 90s. It's an unsolved policy discussion on national level. We have had 5 government assignments to national authorities and at least 1 national inquiry since 1990, and still no real political decisions on national level. The debate has focused on to ban the use of sludge in agriculture or in forestry or landscaping, or not banning. So, and it's been really softly speaking, a lively debate. And people have the sides have been more and more, the conflict has been more and more, have kind of escalated from back to back. We have had national environmental objectives for recirculation nutrients. That was proposed and decided upon by our parliament, but that was when they changed the whole system for the national environmental objectives. These were taken away and they were supposed to be replaced, but they haven't been. So we haven't had these national quantified and with a set timetable for national objectives, which is a shame. And there are no real other specific steering mechanisms in place other than the general environmental and waste legislation, which is now also integrated and put together with the EU legislation on these topics. So now we see the new EU wastewater directive coming, but it's not fully implemented in Swedish legislation, and this will also contain recirculation of nutrients and possibly also recirculation of other resources. But what that will look like in the Swedish perspective is yet not known. And I just put in some pictures of some of these reports and things that have been proposed during the years. There are researchers describing this in the research papers, these processes, and we're trying to learn from that. But it's not solved yet. So there's no real national governance. And the Swedish Water and Wastewater Association, they usually say that we have had 6 different environmental ministers in place without a decision on this. And this makes it's very unsure for the municipalities and the water and wastewater utilities in Sweden that are in charge of all the wastewater treatment, but also the use of wastewater fractions and the questions of what to do with the sludge from the wastewater treatment. So they need to decide on investments, and they do this from the best knowledge they have and trying to look into the future as these are big investments. But they are done now without knowing the future objectives and the legislation to come in Sweden. It's a difficult situation being a water and wastewater utility in Sweden at this moment. We do have a lot of new technologies for treating sludge and wastewater fractions, and they are developed and they're introduced to the market. And there are local pilots with both Swedish and the other international, European and other technologies. And we do learn a lot about these new technologies, but there's really no, there's an unsure environment, as I said. What we do see is that the sludge incineration and also the question of developing biochar solution or sludge biochar solution is gaining interest, and there are already some big investment plans for sludge incineration in place in Sweden. Earlier, we have not had that at all. I will not go into detail about that, but that's something that is coming in this vacuum of non-existing political decisions. But there's also another interesting discussion on within the wastewater sector is to move and rebuild our wastewater treatment plants to become more like resource factories. Instead of just reinvesting in wastewater treatment, we should rebuild the treatment plants so they could start producing resources, such as plant nutrients, but also, of course, biogas, carbon, treated wastewater, etc. So that's the on the policy level. There's been this national inquiry. I put the link to this at the bottom of this slide. You will get the slides afterwards, I guess, as PDFs. This was presented in 2020, and it was had the instruction to put forward how to ban the spreading of sewage sludge. And the inquiry had these principal proposals. They presented two different alternatives on a ban. One, complete ban on spreading with very limited expectations, similar to the ones that we have seen in Switzerland and in Germany. And then another alternative is a ban on spreading on the basis that possible risks are to be managed and addressed, which is a more open one that would see that if wastewater sludge meets up to high requirements regarding the safety of toxical substances, etc., and that it is quality assured, it may be spread on productive farmland, but in no other cases. That was the first, the main suggestion or proposal in the inquiry. But then the inquiry resulted also made a lot of other proposals, and here are a few. It proposed requirements for the recovery of at least 60% of the phosphorus contained in the sewage sludge in larger wastewater treatment plants, well, larger for Sweden, at least above 20,000 people connected. Also had that we should have our national EPA to coordinate the national upstream efforts. Now it's only up to each municipality to do this if they want to. Nothing on national level to ensure this central expertise and support functions. And we that also proposed that we should develop our regulation for other organic fertilizers. Because now if you produce a sludge biochar, that would not be defined as a sewage sludge, and then there would be no regulations at all in Sweden. So we need to develop our regulations more on these recirculation aspects. And the last one is to take a broader approach to returning nutrients to the ecocycle, and we should have more national targets and introduce this on national level. So that was what was presented by this national inquiry. So that's kind of the state of the art of the policy. Things can be added to this, of course. I will now talk about what we have developed in this project, the Baltic Stewardship Initiative that I worked with. This was a national EU-funded project, working together for a healthy Baltic Sea and a circular agri-food sector. And the project had three pillars or three main topics. That was working with a nutrient challenge along the food chain. I will not talk about that. We also talked about develop mechanisms that are rewarding farmers that do things to reduce eutrophication and increase recirculation of nutrients. We'll not talk about that at all either. There are info, at least in Swedish, in the final report where there's a link here. But I would talk about the results from the third part, which is the idea of recirculation, of putting the nutrients back in the right place, and what we did. So 11 members of this BSI, the Baltic Stewardship Initiative project, among them the Swedish Water and Wastewater Associations, researchers, some national companies like Yara and Ragn-Sells and other actors, farmers, the farmers associations, and also food companies, identified it in our discussions within the project, the need for increased recirculation of nutrients in Sweden. And the background is here is something obvious for, I guess, all of us that are in this meeting, that we need to minimize the problem of eutrophication. Recirculation is needed to have a sustainable and resilient food system. And the situation today, well, at that time, in 2022, only 9% of the nitrogen and 40% of the phosphorus in the wastewater was recirculated. And this was all through some of the wastewater sludge being used in agriculture, which is a topic under debate, a possible ban to come. at that moment. But there's a huge potential in this, and we also had this new knowledge on source separating systems, and that this is something that is a really interesting solutions that we discussed a lot. So we got together and eventually said that we need to get our government to move forward on this, because nothing has happened since 1990. So we put together a number of policy messages, and I will walk through them now. These are all described both in Swedish, I'll have a link to that, but also as in a short form in the Baltic Rim Economy's last publication that Centrum Balticum has put for this just a month ago. So we saw the need for a long-term goal of near 100% return of phosphorus and nitrogen from wastewater to food. So that's kind of a vision, but it is very necessary to steer towards that, because we are investing in wastewater systems, and they're built for generations to come. But we also need milestone targets for this, and there have been presented in the inquiry on sludge management, but also in other national inquiries and the policy documents. So we proposed that by 2030, it should be at least 50% of phosphorus and 15% of nitrogen in the wastewater. That's the next step. You remember it was 9% and 40% in 2022. Important to phase out the substance hazardous substances, and this is needed to do this on EU level. And we also set hope for the EU wastewater directive to chip in on this. We could discuss how good that came out. But we also had this idea that we propose on which is similar to what I put from the national inquiry, to give the mandate to our Swedish EPA on the upstream work and support and be leading in this. They are not doing it because they are not instructed to do that today. That was number 4. Then there was that we say that the Swedish government should start to work and give national agencies the mission to develop a plan for a stepwise transition to source separating wastewater systems. Without such a plan and instruction, things will move very slow, because the wastewater treatment and the systems in Sweden, at least, is a very conservative and slow-moving, almost a super tanker. It's not moving that fast. And if they move fast, maybe it will be for a specific technical solution, such as sludge incineration. We also saw the need for things that we will hear more about from the Synergy project and the Fertitech project, etc., later in this workshop, on developing national innovation programs for developing high-value fertilizers. Maybe this will happen without the government doing things, but we think that this is a priority on national level, and we should have our agency for agriculture or what the Swedish Agriculture Board to coordinate this. We should also invest and develop innovation programs for new technology for recycling, and we should also have the Swedish EPA to regularly make new risk assessments on the reuse of wastewater and sludge and other products and wastewater fractions. This now, more than 10 years than we had the last risk assessment made on this, and still we do need this knowledge to make good policy on the reuse of wastewater fractions. And eventually, the last one is to push on EU level so that we look at the quality of the fraction and not its origin, which is the base now. The origin now is the base for a lot of both EU policies and some Swedish ones. We introduced the idea of quota obligations, that a specific amount of recycled phosphorus and nitrogen should be in the mineral fertilizers that are being sold in the Swedish department. We think this is something very interesting, and would also create a market for the reused fractions with phosphorus and nitrogen. We should have a certification system for climate smart recirculated nitrogen, and this is connecting the reuse of nitrogen in wastewater, which is now the treatment is now releasing a lot of nitrous oxide, laughing gas, which is make a huge climate impact. And we should see that we should have this instrument to promote things that could combat that. And then we do need new financial incentives along the food chain to promote nutrient recirculation to agriculture, because now there are very few of these. It's our only costs and adding costs to all parts. And the only solution that now is for free is farmers that get the wastewater sludge for free being spread on their fields. That's the only way forward, and we don't think that's the way for the future. We think that we could develop far much smarter and more effective ways of creating recirculation of nutrients, especially as the sewage sludge is not very rich in nitrogen, and we lose most of the nitrogen. So that was a very quick one. You could find the Baltic Rim Economies, where I and Anders Finnsson from the Swedish Water and Wastewater Agency have done this, have written this, and there's also a link to the Swedish one. So I will end my presentation there. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice. Do we have any questions at this point, or do we move forward? No questions. You can maybe send questions to the chat also.
Yeah, put them in the chat, and if I'll try to answer and comment them. Thank you.
Exactly.
And also thank you for inviting me here. I was so eager started talking, so I forgot that. Sorry.
No worries. Thanks for joining, Pekka.
I could ask just quickly. Pekka Salminen from Southwest Finland Ely Center, Els's colleague. You mentioned incineration there and as one solution, and from Germany we have learned that if spreading of sludge is banned, then it leads to incineration. They are incinerating a lot of the sludge, and to me it's kind of cheap solution in a way that we lose the organic carbon if we burn it, and it causes CO2 emissions and so on. And for at least in Finland, where most of the crops are cultivated on clay or clayish soils, we would definitely need the organic carbon to be spread on the fields. So I didn't quite get your personal opinion on the incineration. Is it? How do you consider it?
Okay, as I was part of the inquiry, that was why we presented two alternatives to the government. So, because we saw that if, exactly as you said, if there was a total ban, it would directly lead to sludge incineration, and we will not develop all the other technologies and possibly more sustainable ways of taking care of the wastewater and recycling the wastewater fractions. And I believe that we will incinerate sludge, but maybe for some time. But if we start banning now, we will all sludge in Sweden will be burned, and then we have invested in one technology without exploring the other more sustainable ones. So I kind of agree with you on that, and that's the background for and the discussion that is developing in the national inquiry and also in the debate. But we'll see. If there are no policy coming from national level, I believe we will step by step go to incineration and possibly also some sludge biochar solutions, and then we will invest ourselves in in only without carefully developing the other ways of going to increase the nutrient recycling.
Okay, thank you.
We will then move forward to the next presentation, and it will be Elin's.
Thanks a lot for inviting me too. And we will be two presenters because we are two people leading the Swedish nutrients platform.
Okay.
So it's me, Elin Koski, working at RISE, Research Institutes of Sweden, and Lisa, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Lisa Gren, and I work at IVL, Swedish Environmental Research Institute. And together with Elin, we coordinate the Swedish Nutrient Platform.
Yes. I will just give you a short, brief presentation on what we do in the Swedish Nutrient Platform. And Lisa, I'll head over to you.
Perfect. So the Swedish Nutrient Platform, a platform where we gather a bunch of different members with the aim of increasing the nutrient recovery. Mainly in this moment, we have a focus on wastewater and sludge, but we are also interested in mainly in broadening this perspective in case we get more actors involved, because right now we have around 30 members of different kind. A lot of them are wastewater related organizations, for example, municipal wastewater organizations, but also technological organizations that focus on the recovery itself. And within the platform, we have a lot of different knowledge building activities. For example, a yearly conference that is open for everyone, not just the members, but we also have newsletters that we send out several times a year. We have member meetings where we have a focus on trying to start up and discuss projects that can further help the aim of increasing the nutrient recycling. We also have a web page and an event calendar on the web page where we try to summarize what is going on within the area. Then we also have some other events, for example, workshops and presentations of recent research that is applicable for the members. I don't want to repeat all that has already been said, but some background about what is going on in Sweden today is that, as mentioned previously, there are a lot of different technologies that might be the way going forward. So there's a lot of things that are being investigated right now. However, the main method right now is spreading sewage sludge on agricultural land. However, this also varies a lot depending on where in Sweden you are geographically, as we are a very diverse country and the situation in the north is not the same as in the south. But we have some processes that are being investigated more, and that's, for example, sludge pyrolysis that is becoming increasingly popular within, at least amongst our members, but there are also, for example, incineration that is being talked about a lot. Also have some members that are really interested into source separated systems, as mentioned. But we will see what the future holds for our members. Elin.
Yes. So what is our role as a sort of nutrient platform? We're bridging science, policy, and practice, trying to sort of get knowledge out broad and also get needs to come to science. We're also facilitating stakeholder collaborations, so we try to get discussions going. There is a lot of possible synergies, but also conflicts involved in this area. We're trying to tracking developments at EU level and try to sort of notice our members about what's happening. Also get them to get a chance to answer on them and give their input. However, we don't have budget enough to work with the sort of input from the nutrient platform and get it sort of signed by all our members. But basically, we try to give our view and we try to give the members a chance to give input to EU and national regulations and so on. And we are hosting national dialogue platforms. Our challenges and possibilities in this area is that it's quite tricky to have an outreach beyond the usual suspects that will be for us, the wastewater sector and connected tech industry. So at our meetings and our conferences, we have a lot of wastewater organizations. We also have a lot of tech organizations that are participating. But we're struggling with getting the agricultural side to join in. We always try, and also the food industry would also be a very interesting and important part to sort of get into this discussions more. We have very limited resources, so the other projects that you will hear from today have far more budget and hours to put in. So we have much more ambition and there's lots more needs than we could possibly do with the budget we have today. We're doing the best we can, but as I mentioned, like putting in suggestions on new regulations and stuff, we cannot do that as today. And the issue of circular nutrients is also one of very many for wastewater organizations and also for agricultural part. So it's quite a niche question and it's hard to sort of people are balancing how important is this if I compare it with drinking water quality, because in some ways they're always cat going crazy back here. There's also always sort of things you need to choose between when you have limited resources. But there are also a lot of possibilities. Things are moving quite fast. There's an increased focus on national food resilience, which can be helpful in this area. We have the new revised urban wastewater treatment directive that will set aims for phosphorus recovery and possibly also nitrogen recovery. There is also, we can see a big increase media attention, and they also imply increased public acceptance. We have like magazines saying wastewater is our new gold mine, and radio shows having sort of they talk about urine water as a resource for gardening and stuff like that. And that's not even, I mean, it's not shows that are about wastewater in any kind of way. It's comics and it's illustrated science and stuff like that. So that's very funny. And there's also a lot of new knowledge and initiatives in this area. There's so many different PhDs and so much happening. So we think there's a bright future ahead. And to wrap it up, in Sweden, we have a lot of other external factors of importance also. And one of the biggest ones is that energy and water supplies are becoming critical concerns. It really hasn't been in Sweden for a long time. So we've been very spoiled with having a lot of renewable energy and lots of water. But as we're facing new times now, there is green industrial transformation, especially in the north of Sweden, where most of the energy production is made, and they need a lot of energy and water. But one of the sort of small pictures there says Swedish industry needs 70 terawatts more electricity by 2030. That's a lot. Climate change is introducing uncertainty in water availabilities, and that is a challenge for stable management. So also sort of taking care of the water body will also affect how we think about nutrient recovery and the whole thing of resource recovery from wastewater. There is, as we showed in the picture of Sweden, a low population density in parts of Sweden, and there's also a cold climate in the north of Sweden, and both how to treat wastewater but also how to use nutrients will differ quite a lot from the south to the north of Sweden. There is probably no one solution fits all to be found here. And there is also, of course, a sort of possibility to have circular economy being based on wastewater. It's quite a huge resource for nutrients and other resources. So we would say it's a strategic priority, and we think that whilst looking at synergies and stuff like that coming forth, we will find much more focus on nutrient management. And that was all we had to say. But you're all very welcome to send us questions or open your mic.
Thanks a lot. Is there any questions? If not, I was interested in that you mentioned that you have problems in getting the agriculture sector joining. Do you think it's also the lack of resources that they have, or other? Do you have any kind of ideas how to get them more involved?
Maybe Mats, you could also join in answering this question, because you've also been in these discussions for quite a long time. But I'd say, I think one of the troubles is that we had a sort of, in the 90s, it was, there was a sort of, the sludge use before 2000 was quite big, and then they found out that there was a lot of unwanted substances in sludge, and the sludge use went down to almost 0%. I think that it was at 2% at 2000 or 2001. So back there, I'd say people that had been using sludge felt like they were fooled by the wastewater organizations. And it's been quite a sort of long road back to finding acceptance and finding ways forward to using sludge again. But there in my experience, there is a lot of sort of, well, you need to find out that it's safe for us to use. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And you have to pay for it yourself because we're not going to pay to make sure it's safe. That's fair. And then you find like Swedish Water Association funding science projects, and we're sort of having projects and trying to figure out if it's safe or not, and hopefully the result is well, this is safe, it's been better now, and the cadmium is quite low, and we have a sort of upstream work in Sweden working quite well. And then they'll say, well, you paid for that science. Of course it will say that. So it's a bit tricky, I'd say. I mean, for them, they don't have sludge being produced every day or month. They need nutrients once a year, and they can get it in many ways. So the problem, so to speak, is on the wastewater organizations, because they need to do something with the sludge. And for the most that I know that are using sludge, they do it as they see it as the most the best way to use it. It's not always cost effective even to get it onto agricultural land. It's just because they think it's the most well, the best way to use it. But if you are a farmer and you're sort of have this sort of debate in the 90s in the back of your head, there's a lot of other ways to get nutrients. And of course, there's also this sort of sludge is from today's processes. The sort of, it's so much phosphorus and quite a small amount of nitrogen and potash. And I mean, what they really need is nitrogen. The phosphorus is good, but it's not urgent. So that's also, of course, a big thing. If you were to change the wastewater treatment plants and get more focus on nitrogen, I think it might be different. But then again, nitrogen is very cheap, even though it has a big environmental impact.
Very true. Thanks a lot. Any other questions? No, thanks a lot for the presentations, and maybe we move to the next one, and that would be Sanna Tikander from the Finnish Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry.
I hope you can see my slide and my
Yes.
and now my camera also. Yes. Or no? Yes. Okay.
Yes, it's visible. Thanks.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sanna Tikander from Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, and I work at the ministry as a senior specialist in the nutrient recycling issues. I promised a brief presentation of Finland policies and especially new developments, and I can say already that there are not much happened yet, but there are very good signs for the future. In this presentation, I will give you a brief overview of the current programs related to nutrient recycling from the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry and also from the Ministry of Environment perspectives. And we made this presentation together with Riikka Malila from Ministry of Environment. I think she is in the audience, and so if you have any specific questions, for Ministry of Environment. You can ask from her.
Michelle, katso vaan varsin sun ely. Joo, moikka hei.
You have, okay. Finland has been working for a long time on nutrient recycling, and about since 2010 or even shortly before, several governments have set targets to promote nutrient recycling. Those of you who were already at the Nutri Talks event last autumn will remember some of my slides, and this one especially. This slide is short overview of the various programs and objectives of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry and Ministry of the Environment since 2020. And I just want to remember you that other ministries have also participated in the work in their areas of responsibility. The international objectives and policy measures have guided the activities, and national programs has responded to them. At first, nutrient recycling was addressed from water protection perspectives, and over time the scope has expanded into a circular economy and bioeconomy, in which nutrient recycling is still considered to be important for an environmental point of view also. Nowadays, nutrient recycling is seen more as a circular economy solution or solution for security of supply, security of supply of food production or self-sufficiency, and as a part of clean energy solutions such as biogas production. For example, our ministry's agricultural nutrients for utilization program initially funded nutrient recycling from the perspective of reducing eutrophication. Next efforts were made to promote research and development activities in the sector. Later, investments subsidies in the sector were included in the aid scheme, and now starting from 2024, output-based production subsidies for biogas plants. And also the funding programs of the Ministry of Environment have developed over years. Initially, projects related to water protection were supported, then projects related to nutrient recycling and archipelago sea also. Now the Ministry of Environment finances various activities promoting nutrient recycling and energy saving projects. And also the AFTI program continues the work of the program to enhance the effectiveness of different sectors. I think we don't need to go this slide very thoroughly, but the funding from the Ministry of the Environment is financed under the AHTI program, as I already mentioned, and there are four themes or priority areas, and the available funding in total is approximately 90 million euros. You can see the 4 different priority areas: getting nutrient loading under control and getting harmful substances under control. And they are there are a lot of nutrient recycling projects under those priority areas. And also the theme of storing and using resources, focusing nutrient recycling. Do we have Riikka here? She can tell more about these programs. Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry has also 2 different kinds of nutrient recycling programs. The experiment pilot program for nutrient recycling have funded biogas production, manure processing, nutrient recycling, and carbon sequestration activities, from testing innovations and product development to production scale activities. Since 2020, the program has funded over 80 projects with 20 million euros. From 2024 onwards, the focus will be supporting investment, but much less funding will be available. And then the operational grant for nutrient recycling is a quite new type of aid based on performance. It's granted based on competitive tendering, and the idea is to promote the recycling and further processing of phosphorus into recycled fertilizer products as a commercial scale. The first auction was organized 2024, and now first funding period is ongoing, so we don't know yet how it's going, but we are investigating it also. And aid for other nutrient recycling plants is currently being investigated, plants without bioenergy production. Don't forget National CAP Plan or EU Common Agricultural Policy. It has a lot of funding possibilities for agriculture and for rural development. I think we don't have so much time, so I go on. The Archipelago Sea program is a joint program of 4 ministries. And the aim is to improve nutrient recycling in the Archipelago Sea region and make it an exemplary area for nutrient recycling, from where good practices can be disseminated elsewhere in Finland and other areas. Agricultural nutrient load to Archipelago Sea is the last HELCOM hotspot in Finland, and that's the focus of the program, Archipelago Sea program, also to get rid of this status. The work program for years 2024-27 includes intensive activities in highly targeted manner to reduce loads. And the assessment of the possibilities to remove Archipelago Sea from the hotspot list is underway, but it's not ready yet, so we cannot tell it more about today, but after later at summer or autumn, it will be ready. And as you notice, I haven't introduced or told you a lot of new developments in our policies in Finland, but we need patience with these nutrient recycling issues. The long-term effort, various activities, and good cooperation are needed for lasting results, and no instant victories can be expected in this difficult work. So be patient. We are developing new measures or new thinking also in Finland. We are actively developing new openings to increase the effectiveness of funding alongside and instead of direct project subsidies. Production subsidies or performance-based funding like operational grant for nutrient recycling, I told you earlier, and impact investment and many other that kind of policy measures. And I think I have the impression that today we will hear a little bit more about these policy measures by Sari Luostarin from Natural Resource Institute Center. Secondary, we truly need new steps towards systemic change in the whole society for the nutrient recycling. But how to take a systemic step in nutrient recycling that supports the food system of the future in improving competitiveness and crisis resilience? It's not easy work either. We just had a project call at spring, and the project call has just ended, and we will select projects about that issue later in the summer, so that work can begin in autumn this year. And also we are preparing to make a roadmap for nutrient recycling and fertilizer self-sufficiency. We don't know what it will be, but the aim is to link existing and ongoing measures to promote nutrient recycling to strengthening the self-sufficiency of nutrient inputs for food production, not only for water protection, but also for food production. The aim of the roadmap is to bring together measures on the use, manufacture, and availability on conventional fertilizers and recycled fertilizers, recycled nutrients, as well as cultivation methods. And to stimulate the conservation discussions and later discussions, 3 key messages I just want to tell you today: that we need systemic change in society, in which nutrient recycling measures are closely interlinked and complementary, not partial optimization. The measures should meet the objectives of self-sufficiency in primary production, national and EU competitiveness, and resilience, and improving the state of environment. Nutrient recycling is part of the bioeconomy, at the heart of the circular economy, and the key to environmental objectives. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Could we have Sari's presentation directly, because it will maybe go deeper into the policy development in Finland?
Yes, much continues from what Sanna was talking about. Just a second to get the presentation started. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I was asked by the Ministry of the Environment to present this project that we will start in the autumn. So it's not ongoing yet, but goes directly into what kind of things we could do in Finland in the future to further promote nutrient recycling. So my name is Sari Luostarinen and I work as a principal specialist in the Natural Resources Institute Finland, or LUKE as for short. So we have this project starting about policy instruments to promote nutrient recycling. And just to recap what Sanna already said, the reasons for promoting nutrients recycling in Finland include the desire to reduce the use of natural resources, so being a bit more efficient with the resources, to reduce losses into the environment. An important part is also to recycle organic matter, and then to improve the security of supply and self-sufficiency for nutrients in Finland, as this one is becoming more and more important in the world today. So at the moment, the thing is that there has been a lot of things done over the years, and despite the many measures, the implementation is still progressing a bit too slowly than we would want it to, and the use of these recycled nutrient products, whether as fertilizers or in other uses, is still rather low. So we need to somehow find ways to step it up, and especially manure use and reallocation still needs further solutions, and we need to add some more processing technologies to use than we are at the moment, and then the market development for these recycled fertilizing products is still very much under development and not as efficient as we would like it to be. So we made a previous study into the different policy measures that could be used in Finland a few years ago, and you can find this report unfortunately in Finnish if you wish to take a look at it. And at that point we were focusing mostly on livestock manure, but also other biomasses were included, but we were trying to figure out how this circle should work and what kind of different stages and stakeholders are needed to see how it should work and what all different things should be done at the same time. So we were looking at the processing technologies, and we were looking at the different fertilizing products and the logistics, sales, delivery, how the farms could work, whether it is for the feed of the recyclable biomasses or the use of the end products in fertilization, and trying to figure out what was the status then and what should be done next. And basically the measures that we identified at that point are shown here. So the ones in violet color is for some kind of an obligation or regulation, and the turquoise ones are more of an financial or other support and subsidy type of measures. So we looked at the farms. They need investment support. They need the different measures supported by the common agricultural policy, but they could also have some obligations, maybe on areas of very dense livestock production. There could be processing obligations for the manure, so that some share should be directed to some kind of processing facilitating reallocation of the nutrients, or the farms, any type of farms, should have some kind of a use obligation for fertilizing products of organic origin, so that part of the fertilization would be from recycling. And obviously, fertilization limits are really important to manage the fertilization so that over-fertilization is forbidden. And then for the processing technologies and the industry in that part, we then identified that there would need to be some kind of a support mechanism for manure-based biogas production, which was and still is struggling with financial challenges. And obviously investment supports are important there as well. Then maybe would be important to have some kind of criteria for the end products, so that not only their quality, but also for how they are managed at the actual processing plants, and then processing requirements. These are all part of safety and usability and also the ensuring the sustainable use of the products. And we also looked at these types of quotas that Mats mentioned. So distribution obligation of recycled fertilizing products, or mixing obligation with mineral fertilizers, for instance. But as you can see, then we were of the opinion that these are maybe difficult to organize, mainly because they would need a EU level acceptance protocol, and there's no, so there was no actual sort of ready-made solutions for that, so they might be difficult to organize. And then there were safety issues. Some compounds, nitrogen compounds, can be pretty risky with when in contact with organic matter. And the availability of the recycled fertilizing products can vary a lot, so the obligation might not be sort of equal for different parts of the country and different actors there, and these types of things. So that's why those are a bit of vaguely presented here in this picture. But then we also noticed that still there is a need for research and innovation and development. So funding for that is important. Monitoring tools to see how the nutrient recycling in Finland progresses would be important. And then still a big need to improve know-how. So we need education, advisory services, and so on. So this is sort of the baseline now that we will look again with hopefully with new eyes and see something new there in the project that we started in the autumn. And things have progressed since. You can see here with the green circles the things that are available or have been available, at least in Finland, since this 2018 report. So there is investment support, there's fertilization limits, we have this support for manure-based biogas production as the operational grant that Sanna mentioned. We have had funding for different development projects. We have made a monitoring tool, which you can have the link to this nutrient recycling indicator, which we are actually updating this year, and then it will be also available in English. At the moment, it is only in Finnish. So things have progressed since, but what could we still do and what we should do, that is the thing that we will try to look at again starting in September. So try to look at the potential new measures and the existing measures and see the whole, whether we can find ways that the bigger picture would show us something, that how these different things that we need to do to make a systemic change, how can that work better in the future. So the measures that we will study at least are these ones. So the economic measures are obviously really important because often the bottleneck is the financial feasibility of different activities. So we will look again at the distribution obligation, whether that would be more doable at this point. And then also maybe there would be a required minimum of recycled content in fertilizing products. We'll see how we end up with that. We will look at taxation, these different impact-based funding instruments, which this operational grant for nutrient cycles already presents, but there are other options how and where similar type of things could be used. Then we will look at the common agricultural policy. There is this ecosystem support in the national part of it, how we could develop that in the future. And then, of course, we will still look at investment support, whether they are sufficient and available for the needed activities. Then we'll look at environmental permitting. For instance, with these very large processing plants, there should be some kind of requirements for how the end products are actually used, as now the permits sort of stop once the end product, so the fertilizing product, is ready, but there is nothing controlling sort of where they are used and how they are used, which would be important to make the nutrient recycling happen in the best possible way, so that the nutrients are transported to where they are actually needed. And then we will look at the quality of the different fertilizing products from the recycled sources. So end of waste criteria is an important issue that can affect the use of these products. And then we will look into the fertilizing product regulation still, so though that has been updated heavily recently, but maybe there's something that we could still do to promote nutrient recycling. And then we'll also take into account these different quality systems that, for instance, the industry has created in Finland for themselves. Just shortly that the project information, so Luke will be coordinating, and we will work with Finnish Environment Institute Syke on this matter. And by next year around this time we should have this project ready. And the steering group for us has participants from the Ministry of the Environment and of Agriculture and Forestry, so we will be closely in contact with the decision makers. And the funding comes from the research activities supporting the government's decision making. So the current Finnish government is also very much trying to find ways to promote nutrient recycling. And hopefully this project can support the decisions made in the near future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It sounds like we have to have a new webinar in 1 year to hear about your results, because it's very interesting and would be very relevant for many countries, I think. Any questions? No? If not, I think we are ready with the policy presentations. Okay.
With a hand.
Mats, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's an easy question, but I believe thank you for the presentation and the one before. These are very interesting processes and work done. What do you see possible for the cooperation between, well, over the Baltic Sea? Well, for example, with Sweden and possibly with other countries on these issues. I mean, we really could be helped by discussing the same topics that you are bringing up.
I very much agree. A part of this project, which is actually lacking from my slides, is that we will try to look into some chosen countries and what kind of things they are doing at the moment and whether we could learn from that. So I think I might be in touch with you, for instance, Mats, just shortly. So by September you may expect emails. But yeah, I think it's really important that we change information and experiences, and we are battling basically exactly the same things. So if anyone comes up with something new, then we should gladly spread it out for the others to use as well. So yeah, we really need to work more closely together, and thanks for Elsie for instance for this platform that we can talk here.
Yeah, I think this has been proven, I think, quite good platform, but it's only one webinar, so I think more is needed, but let's see if we can do it more often or how we can do it in the future, but let's see. Other questions? If not now, so thank you for Sari again. And do you people want to have a short break before we go to the project presentations, or we move forward directly? Any preferences?
Short break would be good.
Yes,
Mm.
short break.
10 minutes. So back at past or something like that.
Thank you.
Yes. half-past now, so maybe if Erik and Cheryl are online, we can get started with 2 project presentations. Vertitec and Synergy.
Hi, sorry, I'm not sure when to start, but now or we
Go
shall
ahead.
wait a few minutes or?
Yeah. So can you hear me at all?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
I think
Okay,
you can start, I think. Yeah.
we can start. Okay, thanks everyone for being here. So I'm going to present a fairly new project started this year in January, and I'm going to, it's Vertitec, so it's Horizon CSA, and the title for today's talk is basically advancing nutrient circularity from Baltic challenges to Vertitec solutions. I have here with me my co-lead, Erik Sintoy, and we're basically going to outline how, for example, this Horizon Europe CSA, which is a coordinating support action, supports some of the key themes that have been discussed here in this talk today. Let's see if I can get it to slide 2. Does it move? Okay, it moves, but then I have no. Oh, hang on. It moves, but then I have lost my own. Okay, it might go on for a little bit. Switching. Okay. So the key mission of Vertitec is we're not a technology developing project. Basically, we are here to map, assess, and promote best available techniques or BATs for sustainable fertilizer production from secondary raw materials. This project serves as a catalyst, enabling uptake by connecting stakeholders, disseminating knowledge. It's a 2-year project, and supporting strategic alignment between the EU, water policies, agriculture, and circular economy. Hang on. I'm having a bit of a technical issue here. I stopped sharing, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Okay. Can everybody see this as is if I don't put it into full presentation mode?
Yeah, I can see it at least myself. So it should be good.
Okay. Okay, so you guys will get the slides anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just go at it like so. So here's Vertitec at a glance. You can read about it when you get the slide, but on the next slide, which is the objectives, the common challenge that we now have is, of course, to overcome the hurdles towards the broader adoption of bio-based fertilizers with reduced environment impact. And what we will do is have the 5 pillars of the project. So basically, it is leveraging on other projects right now, about 12. Let's see. Yeah, the 5 pillars would be mapping existing technologies and installations across EU and potentially East Africa, which is one of our partners, creating a digital knowledge exchange platform, and launching the EcoFerti tool to assist farmer decision making, assessing current case studies technically, environmentally, and socio-economically, defining and validating BATs, which is the best available techniques, together with an experts panel and stakeholder network. And finally, to build capacity and raise awareness through training and policy briefs and dissemination. So Vertitec is basically a holistic model that reflects today's themes where we're talking about it, with an emphasis on nutrient circularity and engaging a wide range of stakeholders. So there are 12 funded previously EU projects where we have some partners in the audience today. That is very nice to see all your presentations. And what this does is to build on the data found in other larger EU-funded initiatives, integrate them into technological insights or insights to technological advancements, so that we can come up with a comprehensive solution to waste recycling and sustainable fertilizer production from secondary raw materials. We have in our partnership, which is, we would say, unique, is the East African EAFF, so the African Union, where the idea is to not only have an understanding of the landscape towards nutrient recycling in Europe, but also to have a dialogue and global impact where we have the same or significant issues in sub-Saharan Africa. So to that extent, what we would like to accomplish in Fertitech, and hopefully it would interest many of you here in the audience that are listening, and that is to have an EU-African Union cooperation, exchanging of data, identification and analysis of case studies, both in the EU and the AU, and hopefully a transfer of knowledge between the two, like key policies and informed recommendations at policy level, but also actionable recommendations to support the local farmers and communities in the EU as well as the African Union countries. So how does this Fertitech project align with the current talks that we have today? We are talking about circular nutrient flows, and Fertitech contributes to that in terms of promoting the best available like bio-based fertilizers from waste. We are encouraging a water bioeconomy link, and Fertitech I would say, raises awareness of wastewater nutrient streams, regional self-sufficiency, highlighting local solutions so that we can reduce imports or dependence on imports for fertilizers. CAP reform alignment. Fertitech also helps to identify certain enabling conditions for circular markets and policy coherence. So that is something that was raised by the Mats, what he raised in the beginning from the Baltic Stewardship Initiative. I think that is nice to hear the highlighted gaps of what is needed at policy level, but also looking at Finland and Sari's contribution, where it's moving ahead in terms of policy. Well, holistically, but policy is important to have this open dialogue here. Fertitech contributes in a small way based on the other projects, combined databases and knowledge sharing, that it also supports these policy briefs, distribution, and dialogues that we have. So the kind of solutions that Fertitech offers is not a research innovation action, but it is a coordinating support action. So in that spirit, there is a creation of a knowledge exchange platform. There is mapping and assessment. We are developing an EcoFerti tool that is an AI-powered tool to guide farmers and stakeholders in selecting their bio-based fertilizers for their local regions. Validation of practices. We hope to come up with at least 12. I think it will be more. And then to design policy briefs that are also locally relevant. Capacity building, which is field visits, training, knowledge transfer, and then EU-AU extrapolation. To do this, we have 4 phases, and it began this year. So now it's June, we're almost the beginning of phase 2. Setting up and preparation was the first 3 months, where we are reaching out to a stakeholder network. We have an ongoing recruitment for expert panel. So if you think that this sounds interesting for you, we would really love to have you on board the expert panel. And you can visit the website, the project website, and there is a form there. So we genuinely want to reach out to a multi-stakeholder scene. So we will have a eventual cataloging of recovery and recycling techniques, technologies, hopefully between the EU and AU, so that we can have a comprehensive database. And this database can be used by even after the project's end for anyone who is interested, because it's going to be kept in an open repository, the information. Phase 2 will be actually setting up and operating this knowledge exchange platform, which will be hosted on the website itself, the project website. And hopefully the development of the AI-powered tool will be launched and tested. Again, so the processes are iterative. So we will be gathering case studies against technical, environmental, socioeconomic factors, coming up with, again, what would be the best for local solutions. Phase 3 will be co-evaluation. So this experts panel that we're going to set up is an ongoing thing throughout the entire project length. And we will have a co-evaluation of what they think also is a cross-case analysis and what would be best suited for different localities. So yes, in the last of it is the design and implement capacity building program, which will raise knowledge and skills on alternative use of fertilizers. Hopefully coming up with alternative or circular business models, which is quite difficult to decipher based on your locality. I think that is a very brief nutshell of Fertitech and our ambitions. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take that. Have I missed out anything? Eric, I did not even let you speak.
No, I think that pretty much covers Fertitech.
Yeah, I actually can't see anybody. Okay, so I don't see any hands raised. Okay.
No, I don't think there's questions, but if anybody wants to ask anything, you have a chance. But maybe we can go forward to the synergy.
Thank you. Eric, you might want to take over sharing. I'm actually locked on the screen here. Okay. Do you want me to share the synergy presentation?
I'm back. I can do it. For some reason I got kicked out of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't really know what happened, but let's see. Oh, that was I'm sorry. Now I'm making a mess of this and sharing the wrong screen. This one I should share.
Mm.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Eric Sindhoy. I'm a senior scientist at RISE, Research Institutes of Sweden, colleague to Cheryl and also to Elin Kuskowski, who was an earlier presenter. Cheryl and I are co-coordinating Fertitech, and we're also co-coordinating Synergy, which is a project that some of you might have heard of a little more often. It's been running. We're about at the halfway point, about halfway through the project. And so this talk is a little bit on advancing nutrient circularity in the Baltic Sea region, just how synergy contributes to policy practice and the future bioeconomy strategy for the EU and for the Baltic Sea region. So just what is Synergy for those of you who are not familiar with the project? Synergy is funded by Interreg Baltic Sea Region, and it is in the circular economy program. And Synergy is a project that it stands for Circular Nutrients for Sustainable Baltic Sea Region. And we're quite a large partnership. We have about 24 partners and 13 associated partners, and all 8 EU countries around the Baltic Sea region are involved in the project. I know probably almost everyone who is logged in here is pretty familiar with why nutrient recycling is important, why we're all here talking about it, but just as a quick overcap, some of the main aspects of why nutrient recycling is so important for the Baltic Sea region is reducing nutrient loads to the Baltic Sea region by closing nitrogen and phosphorus loops will help reduce eutrophication and improve the Baltic Sea, and nutrient recycling is also a part of enabling reallocation of nutrients from areas of surplus to areas of deficit within the regions, and thereby reducing regional imbalances. And these regional imbalances, these areas of surplus, they can be annotated as environmental hotspots, because these are areas that have greater risk for nutrient losses to the surrounding water systems and environments. Nutrient recycling also, it strengthens the circular economy and the bioeconomy goals, and it also is key to improving our food resilience in the region and reducing dependency on imported mineral fertilizers. Synergy, the project, is helping to promote nutrient recycling by demonstrations of actual replacing mineral fertilizers with recycled nutrient fertilizers, which we call RNFs, through large-scale field trials. We are also drafting industry standards for safe and reliable recycling of nutrients into RNF products. We're developing strategies to enable and promote nutrient reallocation from these areas of surplus to the areas of deficit. We're also building cross-sectoral knowledge support centers for both processing technologies and also for the evaluation of RNFs, recycled nutrient fertilizers. Since it's an evolving, and there's constantly new products emerging on the market, so it's a big one of the big challenges is to be able to evaluate and compare them in a harmonized fashion. And then Synergy is supporting actual commercial nutrient recycling investments. We have 4 commercial nutrient recycling investments that we're supporting. And it's very much, Synergy is very much a project about engaging stakeholders. And we're doing this with a number of activities and events in all 8 EU countries around the Baltic Sea region, and with the focus on improving, promoting nutrient recycling, and eventually achieving a more balanced regional nutrient balance. Synergy is it was actually formed directly to support the nutrient recycling strategy for the Baltic Sea region, and it was also formed more or less to directly support various aspects of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. primarily PA Nutri and PA Economy, and also to a lot of degrees PA Innovation, through the various activities that Synergy is supporting, which include the demonstrations, the supporting finding strategies for balancing regional imbalances, nutrient flows, evaluating business models for nutrient value chains to find those that are most successful, to promote successful business models for nutrient value change, testing and evaluating recycled nutrient fertilizers from agricultural and municipal and industrial side streams. And then also to build this cross-sector knowledge and processing and evaluation support centers is a big aspect of Synergy. Looking kind of particularly at PA Nutri, and a lot of the themes in PA Nutri, how Synergy promotes it. These are some of the kind of the key aspects in reducing nutrient inputs to the Baltic Sea, and that we're promoting the production and the safe application of recycled nutrient fertilizers from these three main sectors: agriculture, municipal, and industrial. As recycling nutrients from all three of these sectors, they all face the same challenges, and therefore we're addressing them all simultaneously in Synergy project. We're also helping to close nutrient cycles, nutrient loops, by identifying circular solutions across these sectors and lifting and promoting the solutions that are most successful in commercialization of these type of solutions. We're also working a lot with detailed mapping of the nutrient surpluses and deficits in the Baltic Sea region, in all 8 countries, EU countries in the Baltic Sea region, and so we're mapping these areas of regional surplus and deficit, and then we're looking at various strategies for how we can possibly improve the balances in both locally and regionally. We're actively demonstrating in 4 commercial pilot investments nutrient recycling, and there were also we've have a number of case studies also that we're taking, and we're highlighting ongoing commercial applications of nutrient recycling to help try to promote this even further. One of the big challenges that we're trying to address in Synergy is the large variation in the types of recycled fertilizer products that are available, and the large variation in the agronomic potential of the different products. So we're doing this. We're evaluating the agronomic potential of many different products, and at the same time we're drafting kind of industry guidelines for how to both produce and evaluate these type of products in a sense that will be usable for farmers, because to create a circular product, then it needs to go back into primary production, and that means that it needs to be used by farmers, and that means that hopefully they'll be used in agriculture, and they will replace mineral fertilizers. So the farmers need to know how to use them and what to expect from this broad spectrum of recycled fertilizer products that are currently out there and will be continuing to come. We're also working to contribute to HELCOM's nutrient recycling strategy, as I mentioned, and by addressing several of the main objectives within this nutrient recycling strategy for the Baltic Sea region. And we're by addressing these cross-sectoral and transnational cooperation, we're really trying to bring together these three sectors: agriculture, municipal, and industrial sectors, and creating policy briefs and actions across these 8 countries that to try to address these issues. Some direct actions, as I mentioned, we have pilots. We have large-scale field testing pilots of replacing mineral fertilizers with recycled nutrient fertilizer products, and we're comparing them with the yield effects with mineral fertilizers. So we're doing this in Sweden, Poland, Germany. It says Finland here, but we're not actually doing this in Finland. It's Estonia, I think. Sorry, that was a typo. But we're piloting this demonstration of using recycled nutrients to replace mineral fertilizers. We're also using the results and feeding it into this draft standard guidelines for producing and evaluating recycled nutrient fertilizers. We're establishing these cross-sectoral knowledge and processing support centers. So we're establishing actually 2 types of support centers, and one is more focused on processing technologies, and the other is more focused on evaluation of products and the agronomic evaluation of these products, making sure they're safe and effective and usable products. And then we're also evaluating various business models for the nutrient value chains, and looking at highlighting the more successful of these. We're also, through a lot of surveys and interviews and workshops, we're gathering insights mainly from the end users who will be using these products, but also from the industry, who's the companies who are making them, the municipalities, and then we're also drafting policy briefs and recommendations of how we can weave in supporting nutrient recycling into various policy mechanisms that are existing. This is a little bit more of the same, maybe a little bit overlapping here, but on a broader scale from the Baltic Sea region and the nutrient recycling strategy, the Baltic Sea region, and supporting PA Nutri in the strategy for the Baltic Sea region. Synergy also ties in very strongly to supporting the farm to fork strategy and the Green Deal. upcoming bioeconomy strategy by much of the same mechanisms that we've talked about, demonstrating recycled nutrient fertilizers as effective alternatives to mineral fertilizers. Maybe not necessarily, and it's not necessarily. I'm not necessarily saying that to start with, recycled fertilizers will replace 100% of the fertilizer usage on a farm. Initially, it might replace 20, 30, and eventually it will hopefully keep growing as the products become more effective, and the understanding of how to use them and integrate them into fertilizer management plans on farms become better known by farmers. But it starts by demonstrating that we can use these products to replace actual mineral fertilizer in primary production. So there's a big link to farmers and advisors here, and understanding the farmers and advisors' perspectives, and working with farmers and advisors to utilize this, to be able to integrate this into management plans, and which is also integrating into this integrated nutrient management plan. And then we're also contributing to policy consultations and trying to promote some type of regulatory coherence, particularly within the Baltic Sea region. So just some final reflections is that nutrient circularity is I think a couple of years ago it seemed to have really, I mean, it's really good to hear. I mean, in Finland, we've heard just today how Finland has really been focusing on nutrient recycling for the last 15 years. Since 2010, you made a really concerted effort to start improving and focusing on nutrient recycling. But I think it's only kind of more recently caught on in large scale, maybe somewhat unfortunately due to global events which have caused this. But nonetheless, I think it's generally understood that nutrient circularity is no longer just a niche solution. This is something that we need to focus on to achieve not only zero pollution, but to have sustainable food systems, water resilience, and just all around resilience for our food and water system in the region. Synergy focuses really on how to operationalize these EU and macro-regional strategies to be able to actually pilot actionable solutions, plan for solutions, pilot them, and then align the local stakeholders with the solutions to determine how to move on and to actually start implementing these in large scale. And then as these talks have been emphasizing, this talk, and also the previous PA Nutri talk that was organized last year, success really depends on integration. It depends on integration and implementation of these issues, and by both actors and sectors and policies. This is what we need to try to find solutions for how to make sure that these things are used and are multiplied and taken up by the end users. Clicked once too many times there. The upcoming EU bioeconomy strategy should really prioritize nutrient recycling. I'm not sure how much of a focus it is, but nutrient recycling is definitely a key element in bioeconomy and bioeconomy strategies. And synergy, as we see it, we see synergy offers kind of like a pathway to test practical tools and regional partnerships for how we can turn nutrient recycling into mainstream solutions across Europe. And then, yeah, here we just wanted to show that this project is a very active partnership of many organizations, not only research groups, but SMEs and farmers unions and farmers advisors and regional authorities and national authorities, and we hope and that's helping to make the project hopefully more successful. That's any questions?
Yes, Sigmund.
Is you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
go ahead.
Eric, it's nice to see you again, and thank you for your presentation. It seems that this project is very promising, or I hope that it will work for our countries. And I have a question. Could you highlight the most promising practices of the nutrient recycling in the scope of the project Synergy? Is already clear, or is you are going to that direction maybe, and you could already see the outputs of it? Thank you.
That's a good question, and I think one thing that's Synergy is Synergy wasn't really planned to pick out the best available technology. That's actually what the project Fertitech that Cheryl presented has kind of as a goal. But that said, we did part of the project has been to evaluate a broad range of value chains for nutrient recycling. And I think we ended up highlighting about 24 different value chains. And this was from everything from recycling agricultural residues to recycling municipal residues to recycling industrial side streams. And so there's quite a number of different like the best technologies are somewhat dependent on the side stream and the sector that it's coming from. I think in general, as we heard from the previous some of the previous talks from both Mats and Elin, that there's a number of problems with recycling municipal, especially from the municipal wastewater sludges. There's a number of issues with that. So in general, I think it's probably easiest, and what we've seen also from our interviews with farmers is that recycling nutrients from agricultural waste streams are the easiest, and they're the easiest accepted, and they're the easiest to implement. And probably then it would be more from the industrial waste streams, and the industrial waste streams are mostly from the food sector, which makes it quite easy to recycle these and create products that are acceptable for end users to use. And some of the municipal streams, especially the municipal wastewater streams, are a little more challenging. The one problem, I didn't really get into this here, but one of the biggest problems with recycling nutrients that we didn't really get into that at all in these presentations is that it costs more comparative to the industrially produced mineral fertilizers, mineral nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizers. Recycled nutrients are more expensive. And this is something that is we're just wrapping up this portion of work in Synergy, which is coming to this conclusion that basically no matter how you look at the value chains, no matter what you're doing, it costs more, and this is something that needs to be addressed in national authorities and in policy. If we cannot just say we need to recycle nutrients. We need to recycle nutrients. We actually we have to go in and we have to create policy mechanisms to support the recycling of nutrients, because this is a societal benefit. There are multiple benefits for society for recycling nutrients, but we cannot expect the farmers to foot the bill for doing this, because if we do, it's not going to happen, because it doesn't make sense for them to do it in most cases. I know I didn't answer your question, Uzigmas, because as with a clear cut answer of what is the best solution. Do you have a follow-up, please?
If I may, thank you
Sure.
for your answer. In general, I could expect such answer, because quite difficult is to mention one, for example, practice and so on. But you have mentioned that quite big challenges dealing with the municipal slurry. Do you try to find what is the problem and how to solve? I mean, how to solve the chemical spoiling of the nutrients which are in municipal slurry? Did you try to find the solutions or reasons why it's done? Thank you.
We have not been working with those aspects from municipal wastewater sludge. I think maybe Elin is actually, or Mats is probably better equipped to talk about. I mean, if you look at the law, I mean, because there was quite a bit of talk about the history of using wastewater treatment sludge in agriculture in Sweden, and how it, and Elin mentioned how it went to almost no usage at all now to back to where there's a certification system for certifying the quality of wastewater treatment sludge, and I think it takes a lot of upstream work to make sure that the pollutants don't enter the wastewater stream. Is my understanding of it. It's very difficult to separate a lot of these pollutants once they're in the wastewater treatment stream. I know in Synergy, in our project Synergy, we are looking at where we have a large scale test in Sweden where we're looking at how the pyrolysis of sewage sludge to produce various biochars is affected by both the wastewater the wastewater treatment process, and then also looking at how the wastewater treatment process affects the biochar, which will affect the agronomic potential of using it in primary production, both in terms of the phosphorus availability in the char, but also the other contaminants, which also a lot of the contaminants also get concentrated in the char. So we're looking at that, but we don't have any answers yet.
Okay, thanks. I think we need to, thanks for Cheryl and Eric. I think we need to move forward, and next would be either Sari or Kari to talk about the Green Hood project.
Well, I will present the Green Hood. I will share my screen. Is it now in a full mode?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I will present. My name is Kari Ylivainio, and I come also from Natural Resources Institute Finland, where I'm as a principal scientist. And I will present a Greenhood project that also started beginning of this year, so we have been running for a couple of months. And the full name of the project is Nutrient Balance and Resource Optimization in Regional Ecosystems through Holistic, Sustainable and Zero Pollution Solution. So this is a EU project, budget of 9.6 million euros. It's a 4-year project, and we have a total of 30 partners from 10 countries, and the coordinator comes from Spain, Beta Technologies from Catalonia. In Greenhood, we have 4 demo regions, and in each of these demo regions, we are demonstrating different ways to rebalance nutrient flows and reduce especially nitrogen and phosphorus emissions. So each of these demo regions, they are so-called hotspots and these regions are located in Spain, Belgium and Netherlands, in Norway and then in Finland. And in each of these regions, we are using, let's say, each of these regions have local challenges. So each of these have then selected methods that best fits for their region. We are having these robust nutrient budgeting methodologies and these collaborative testing and diverse innovation with regional stakeholders. And the aim of this project is to, let's say, pave the way for societies to cooperate within safe ecological boundaries and also satisfying socio-economic needs. So I will present each of these demo region, and then I will go more deeply on this Finnish demo because it's located in Baltic Sea region. First, we have this Ebro River basin in Spain, in Catalonia, northeastern part of Spain, where they have very intensive livestock production, and this has then caused some problems with excess manure produced, and this is caused then excess nitrogen and phosphorus. And we are now then testing different mitigation measures for reducing these nitrogen and phosphorus losses. And of course, the main target is on manure, and after separation, we are recovering both phosphorus and nitrogen from this liquid fraction, and then also after this extracting these nutrients, this remaining liquid fraction is further used for microalgae cultivation in order to further reduce nutrient and produce carbon-containing material. And this solid fraction is then used as a high-quality soil improver, and of course it contains also nitrogen and phosphorus. And they are also testing this bioremediation of this nitrate-contaminated groundwater. And in Spain, because majority of the Spain, they are experiencing drought, so they also want to produce drinking water from this purified groundwater. And then they are also testing this nature-based reactor where they are treating urban wastewater for upgrading the quality of the pond effluents. And then one of their partner, Fertinagro, which is a Spanish fertilizer company, will produce bio-based fertilizers or tailor-made fertilizers from these recovered nutrients. So these tailor-made fertilizers, like raw materials, are these bio-based fertilizers, but they are then upgraded with mineral nutrients in order to better meet the crop requirement. And of course, these fertilizers will be then tested at a field scale. And then in Netherlands and Belgium, they are working together. So these two river basins, they are located in both of these countries, and they are mainly testing these nature-based solution. They are, for example, testing wood chip bioreactor for enhancing denitrification of subsurface drainage effluents. They are also testing sedimentation ponds for reducing nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon discharge, as well as then buffer strips and integrated constructed wetlands, which are then connected to these dense artificial drainage networks. And they are also, in all of these demo regions, these bio-based fertilizers have an important role. And in Netherlands and Belgium, they are also optimizing the use of PPFs and also utilizing these novel sensor technologies to achieve a higher precision in fertilization. And they are then also producing bio-based fertilizers from these side streams originating from these above mentioned nature-based solutions. In Norway, the demo region is located in Trondheim Fjord Basin, where fish sludge and livestock manure produce large nutrient surpluses and then eventually eutrophication. And aim is to process these side streams into bio-based fertilizers as well. And interest is both on nitrogen and phosphorus, which will be recovered from these side streams with different technologies. And also these bio-based fertilizers will be tested in field conditions across different parts of Norway. So this was just a short introduction for these three demo regions, and now we will go a little bit deeper in Finnish demo area, which is Archipelago Sea Basin. And in Finland, we have 5 partners. Luke is leading this demo, and we are conducting quantification and modeling of nutrient flows and balances. We will assess policy measures, and we will conduct also experimental work related to soil improvers and bio-based fertilizers. Then ELY Center, Varsinais-Suomi, which has a direct link to the measures in the National Archipelago Sea Program. They will also conduct this phosphorus status clinic with farmers, which supports nutrient recycling solutions and policy measures. And then direct link to farmers is through this local farmers union and supports promoting nutrient recycling solutions and policy measures in agriculture and forestry in this demo region. And then Finnish Biocycle and Biogas Associations supports bio-based fertilizer production and nutrient recycling measures. And then Fertilex, which is a Finnish fertilizer producing company located in Laitila, and they are producing pelletized bio-based fertilizers from poultry manure, and they will conduct experimental work with these fertilizers. And in addition to these partners, we have also subcontracted Gasum and Kiertoravinne, who are closely related to nutrient recycling. And especially now in this project, they are participating to bio-based fertilizer production from sewage sludge, and they are giving advices also for this experimental work. Okay, and then so the key sectors in this. Okay, there's someone else is on the line as well. So the main sectors in these regions that are where we are targeting these mitigation measures are agriculture, forestry, and wastewater treatment plants. And nutrient flows that we are assessing in this demo from agriculture, we are concentrating on manure, and then sewage sludge, as well as nutrient loading from forestry. As a background, I suppose many of you know this already, but Archipelago Sea, it's a shallow sea basin with over 40,000 islands, and island has a high retention of waters collected from several river catchments. And this Archipelago Sea basin, as mentioned already today, is the only hotspot identified by HELCOM in Finland. And its ecological status is mostly moderate, with the main issues being eutrophication and diffuse nutrient loading. It has a quite intense agriculture. 28% of the land area is under agriculture, and majority of the farms are crop farms, but there is also livestock production, mainly pigs and poultry, and these livestock farms, they are mainly regionally concentrated to western part of this region. And especially on this southwestern part of Finland, agricultural fields, they are mainly clay soils, which are then very causing high risks for erosion. And also these fields, they have commonly quite high phosphorus status, so there is no yield response to fertilization in most of the fields. And manure that is produced in these regions could cover the phosphorus fertilization need, but this would mean that it should be reallocated, and like mentioned earlier, it's still little processing has been done. Mainland use in this area is forestry, and of course from these areas also we need to reduce nutrient loading. Most of the sewage sludge that is treated in this region is anaerobically digested, and currently we need to especially improve the nitrogen recycling, liquid fraction via processing. So all this will be addressed in Greenhood. So we are demonstrating different mitigation measures in order to reduce nutrient losses. One of those are soil amendments that can reduce nutrient losses via erosion. And in this, in Greenhood, we are doing close collaboration with the National Ain Tree Project, where the soil improvers, including gypsum fibers from forest industry and structure liming, has been spread over 800 hectares to retain nutrients in soils. And from this area, water quality will be monitored during the project. And this liquid fraction from digested sewage sludge, it contains still high concentration of nitrogen, but it's mainly in an organic form. So our aim is to increase the share of soluble nitrogen in the liquid fraction in order to increase its fertilization efficiency. And this will be tested in field scale, and potential nitrogen losses will be monitored. And in our demo, we are also, like said, working with these bio-based fertilizers, or in our case also these tailor-made fertilizers, which we are receiving from Fertilex. In poultry manure, it has a very high content of phosphorus related to nitrogen, so it's not optimal for crop growth. So if poultry manure as such would be used as a nitrogen fertilizer, it would provide much more phosphorus than crop is needing. So Fertilex is improving this NP ratio by adding mineral nitrogen into it, and so it would be then better meet crop nitrogen requirement, and this would then lead to we could avoid phosphorus accumulation in soil and thus minimizing losses to surface waters. And these fertilizers will be tested in field conditions. We are also evaluating how whether these affect on nutrient losses if they are applied on a field, and this will be conducted in a rainfall simulation. And earlier studies showed that these recycled fertilizers, they can induce even lower phosphorus mobilization than a conventional mineral phosphorus fertilizer. So our idea is to collect these different kind of recycled fertilizer or bio-based fertilizers from different demo area, and also obtain agricultural soils from these sites, and then we will conduct the rainfall simulation to see how they will affect on nutrient losses. Then we have different kind of governance tools, and we are evaluating this nutrient recycling subsidy, which aims to this regional redistribution of phosphorus. Currently, it promotes processing and reallocation of manure-based digestates, and the effectiveness of the subsidy will be studied, but also if it's extended to other processing technologies as well. And then we have different kind of monitoring methods for assessing the progress of these mitigation measures. For example, a nutrient calculator tool we can use for evaluating fertilization requirements and the suitability of various nutrient-rich side streams to meet these needs. And the aim also is to include a new, let's say, technique for this, including also a carbon additions, which would then help to decide where these carbon-rich materials would be most beneficial to spread. Also, we have this biomass atlas, which provides the spatial distribution of biomasses. So it will help to plan the use of these side streams. And also from the forest sites, we have models that includes nutrient flows in forestry in order to improve our knowledge about nutrient flows beyond agriculture. So this is in short what we are doing in Greenhood. So like I said, we are still in a very early phase of this project, so we do not have any results to show at the moment, but perhaps in a couple of years.
Thank you. It's a very interesting project, I think. If there are questions to Kari? Must send in the chat. Go ahead.
Mats, you have raised your hand. Yep.
Yes. I put 2 questions in the chat. Thank you for this. It's a very interesting project and a lot of good things to do, and also very interesting with the biomass atlas, which I have to check out. But I'm interested in the management or steering of these nutrient balances. On what size or scales of the catchments or the catchment area is most feasible to monitor and manage these nutrient flows? That's one. And if there was any organization or someone responsible for following up and acting on these nutrient balances. What kind of organization or type of entity should be responsible for that, in your opinion?
Well, like this biomass atlas, it provides information of different nutrient-rich side streams in certain region. So I think Sari is more expert on these models, but I think it gives a good idea how much you actually have this material available in a certain region that can be converted, let's say, to, for example, bio-based fertilizers, or what kind of technologies might be needed. Of course, it's this technology. It depends what kind of raw material you have for processing these side streams. For example, for manure and sewage sludge, you need a different technologies for processing them into bio-based fertilizers. And I think they're like these outcome of these models, they are already used in Finland for evaluating, for example, this nutrient calculator, how much phosphorus is actually needed as a fertilizer in certain regions. And it helps in allocating these subsidies, etc., to the certain regions to show which are the actual hotspots. Because like nitrogen and phosphorus, they differ a lot how they react in soil. So phosphorus pretty much stays there if it's not eroded, whereas nitrogen, like mentioned here many times, farmers need it every year, whereas phosphorus in many places you can cultivate fields without any phosphorus application for even for decades. So depends on the, of course, raw materials, how it can be used and what processing technologies and how these can be allocated. I hope this answered a little bit your question.
Did you answer what organization or type of entity should be responsible for nutrient balances?
You mean like updating these information?
It's much question. It probably like if there is over fertilization in some region, and
yes, should that be something for the authorities to do, or researchers, or?
Well, I suppose the researcher doesn't have a power to do that, but like in Finland, we have this fertilizer regulation, so it regulates already how much farmers can apply phosphorus depending on the soil phosphorus status. And I think Sari has raised her hand. I suppose she has more knowledge about that one.
I don't know about knowledge, but maybe some ideas. Yeah, at the moment in Finland, sort of the overall monitoring of how nutrients could be recycled and in an upper level than farm scale monitoring, sort of like municipal or regional or national monitoring. It is done by us at Luke, so that we can somehow have at least these directions of how things are proceeding. On farm scale, we cannot actually do it exactly because we don't have access to all the data that the farms are putting down about their work. So we cannot sort of go into as that detailed monitoring in research, or and only the authorities can do that with the when they are surveilling the farms. But those are not done for every farm, but they are sort of randomly picked, and then they check up how things are done and so on. So we don't have the exact information of all the fertilization use per per farm right now, and this is something that is being discussed in Finland. Should we have more data and so on? So yeah, but we do have these directions, and we know how things are going, and luckily things are going into a better direction at the moment all the time.
Maybe I would add that also regional authorities are monitoring or keeping track of the data on their own region, and maybe they can be active in starting projects. But yeah, basically what Sari
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant with these surveillance visits to the farms and so on.
Yeah. Then we have one more project presentation. It would be about biosol farm. So Laurin. If she's online. I can, yeah, you are, but we cannot see you or hear you, I think. Your mic is on, but I cannot hear your voice.
Now?
Yes, now.
Oh, perfectly.
Perfect.
Sometimes I have to switch it off and on again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will share my screen and my presentation. Yes, hello. My name is Lauren Larsen. I'm working for the Environmental Technology Network, NVMV, which is based in north of Germany in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. And we are one of 7 project partners from 3 different countries, which are Poland, Germany, and Lithuania, working in the Interact project Biosol Farm, South Baltic Farm, an essential part of renewable energy systems. As the title suggests, we are dealing in the first stage with energy production and the self-supply of energy on agricultural businesses. So we are dealing with renewable energy sources such as wind, sun, and biomass. But since we use biomass as an energy source for biogas production in our project, we thought it would be a good idea to talk briefly about the agriculture's contribution to nutrient cycle today. So what I'm presenting today is not really our main content in the project, but yes, I hope it's useful for you. So that's the structure I will be going through, but due to the limited time, I'd like to skip that for now and just begin with the presentation. So, as you know, agriculture, especially the animal husbandry, produces huge amounts of manure and slurry. As we have different farm animals and different agricultural farming methods, we do have also different farm fertilizer. So essentially we have slurry, manure, and liquid manure. They differ mainly in their water content and dry matter content, as well in their nutrient composition and concentration. And also in part of the plant production, we have, for example, grain residues like straw, which are left on the fields to serve as fertilizer, as they act as carbon fertilization. Or we do have cover crops, which are really good for the soil structure and nutrient balance because they store the nutrients, especially nitrogen, and prevent them from being washed out into the groundwater. And of course, the farmers, they aren't stooping, depending on stupid. They are, depending on the availability, they have always used a large amount of these fertilizers to fertilize their own land, since they are free and produced as a waste product. They have been recycled in a very high rate in the agricultural since we start farming, basically. Here is one chart which shows you which and how much of farm manure are used in Germany. The biggest part is, which you can see here, is a cattle manure with almost 95 million tons, followed by liquid biogas residue or digestate with almost 63 million tons. And then comes the pig manure, the solid manure, and solid biogas digestate. So you can see that next to traditional fertilizers such as cattle manure and pig manure, the treated manure in form of liquid or solid biogas digestate also plays a crucial role in the fertilization and nutrient recovery nowadays in Germany. Something about the nutrient distribution in pig and cattle manure. So slurry consists mainly of water with dissolved nutrients and organic matter. So the proportion of these components depend on different factors such as type of animal, the feed, the amount of rainwater added, as well as the duration and type of manure storage. And both the liquid and solid substances in manure contain the main nutrients that are important for plants, such as nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, magnesium, and some numerous trace elements. And depending on the animal species, cattle here in this red box is rich in potassium, whereas pig manure is rich in phosphate. So all slurry is a valuable fertilizer, which when applied to plants at the right time and in the right quantities can meet the nutrients requirements and ensure yields and quality of the plants. And in addition, the slurry fertilization reduces the need of mineral fertilizers, as you know. In case of nutrient distribution, it would be great if we would have an equal and balanced distribution of animal production and crop cultivation, so that farmyard fertilizer is easier available. But in real life, we have regions with different sensitivities of farmland and animal production, so that we have a kind of varying availability and demand for farm manure. So this graphic shows different centers of animal production, such as cattle, pig, and chicken production. And you see that there's one special region in the northwest of Germany, which combines all the animal production in one place. Very intensively, and this is North Rhine-Westphalia. It has the highest livestock density in the country. So as a result of this intensive animal production, we also have a lot and too much animal manure available in this region. So one result is also like the high nitrate levels in the groundwater as one result of this intensive animal production. And what is the solution? Do we want to transport the manure about like several hundred kilometers, which consists mainly of water? That makes only sense for nearby region, I would say. And it would become too expensive and too unsustainable. to just transport water around the region. So there are already many techniques and technologies which reduces the water content and enable longer distances to be covered to transport the farmyard manure. However, the goal should be to achieve more or less closed cycles, and they should be as regional as possible. So where we are then treating the farmyard manure in reactors of a biogas plant. Of course, the main reason is the production of green energy. Biogas production plays an important role in the energy transition in many European countries already. With a combined heat and power plant, you can produce your own electrical power and feed it into the grid, get additional income from feed-in tariffs, and at the same time, we prevent climate-damaging gases from entering the atmosphere. And in the end, we have a high-quality fertilizer which can be brought back to the fields. So we have kind of win-win situation. Fermentation causes a quite big reduction in mass, which is mainly determined by the organic dry matter and consists of carbon compounds. This table shows the nutrient content from mixed substrate and the final digestate after treatment. So we have here the mixed substrate, which is more or less the basic and not treated substrate, and the fermentation residue. So the longer the substrate remains in the reactor, the greater the change in its properties, such as dry matter content. The conversion of organically bound carbon to methane leads to a significant reduction in dry matter and organic dry matter in the substrate and reduction in mass. This is what you can see here. This is the dry matter content, which had in the beginning like 13% and is reduced to 6%, and organic dry matter has a reduction of more or less 10%. So what else is important when it comes to changes in the nutrient composition is the organic breakdown or the breakdown of organic substances, especially proteins. And the microorganism, they decompose the organically bound nitrogen to ammonium. On average, there is an increase of ammonium proportion of total nitrogen from around 40 to 50, and in the fermentation residue from 55 to 70. When it comes to the application of the digestate on fields, we get a higher and short-term nitrogen fertilization compared to raw slurry, and other nutrients remain largely stable in their composition and their quantity. Furthermore, the increase in ammonium means that nitrogen is better absorbed by the plants, similar to mineral nitrogen fertilizers. One disadvantage is that ammonium is converted into ammonia on contact with air, which escapes into the atmosphere and leads to nitrogen losses. That's why you see these special injection techniques that inject the slurry directly into the soil so that the nitrogen losses are as low as possible. Biogas in Germany. In case of biogas production, you can say that Germany has a leading role due to a very intensive construction of biogas plants since year 2000, and you can see here in the picture that the light green bars show the upward trend which we had since 2000, and that this led to around 8,600 biogas plants in whole Germany, and 8,300 of them are agricultural biogas plants. And the reason was an introduction of a law called the Renewable Energy Sources Act, which enabled this kind of widespread introduction of biogas production. And one consequence of this was the cultivation of energy corn, which literally exploded because it contains the biggest energy content. And this, probably you know it, this brought the plate tank discussion on the agenda. For those who doesn't know, the plate tank debate describes, more or less the conflict between using agricultural land for food production, like the plate, or the production of biofuels, which is the tank, as they compete, both for the same resources, which is the farmland. And nowadays we have in Germany feed-in tariff for renewable raw materials like energy corn, and they reduced dramatically. So it's not longer profitable to run biogas plants just with energy plants such as energy corn. And that's why farmyard manure must be used much more in the fermentation. Biogas in Poland. This chart illustrates also an upward trend in the construction of biogas plants in Poland since 2011. Notably, the introduction of Poland's Renewable Energy Act in 2015 and the announcement of the Energy for Countryside, that's the name of the program, in the early 2023 have provided important incentives. And under these new initiatives, farmers and energy cooperatives can apply for grants and loans to establish renewable energy sources, including biogas plants. And you can see the development, and Poland has had in the year 2023 in total 162 agricultural biogas plants, but the number is expected to grow steadily in the coming years. And last but not least, the biogas in Lithuania. We had in 2022 just 41 biogas plants in total operating in Lithuania, and the distribution of biogas plants in Lithuania shows that only 15 agriculture biogas plants are existing, which are more or less 40% of total biogas plants in Lithuania, and the rest are sewage biogas plants, landfill, industrial. So there's still plenty potential for construction further biogas plants. So I hope this was a very basic and a very brief overview of agriculture contribution to the nutrient cycle. I hope I was able to provide you some helpful information. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to see the high upward trend with biogas in so many countries, and that you have done so much progress with the competition with the farmland.
Yeah.
Any questions to Laurin? I don't see anybody raising their hands. So thank you a lot. And
You're welcome.
thank you to all the other speakers also. We are coming to the end of the presentations now. And basically, we can have a couple of questions that were sent at the beginning to the speakers. You can still ask questions from any of the speakers that are still online. Yeah, somebody, Helen, had a question.
Hello, thank you so much, Laurin, for your presentation. Maybe this is a very basic question, but when you mentioned the numbers of biogas plants, are the biogas plants doing economically well? I'm just kind of contrasting because I think maybe some of the previous speakers were saying that some of the biogas plants are not doing, or like there is no business case. So how does this look in Germany? Because it looked like that there was such a huge upgoing trend, so there must be some case for making it profitable.
Yes, they were in the beginning from 2000. We had a huge, say, high feed-in tariff for when you produce electricity from biogas plants and you feed them into the grid. You get a really high feed-in tariffs. That's the name, and so it was very profitable for a lot of farmers to do that, and they didn't separate between the residual input like farmyard manure and the energy crops like energy corn. So a lot of farmers, they were running biogas plants more or less just putting energy corn into the biogas plants. So this was was very tricky, but they did it for till now. But now the tariff, they got less. And the problem is that some of these biogas plants, they just, the business case was just feeding them with energy crops, and they don't have probably animal production in the near. So this is very tricky for some farmers, as they can't really switch from one day to another to putting farmyard manure inside. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Yeah, now it's coming back to me. You were talking about this in your presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the questions sent to the speakers, so all of the speakers, how will the nutrient recycling goals from the farm to fork strategy be genuinely implemented and what timeline? If somebody wants to contribute to that question. If Cheryl is still online or anybody else, I think you had nice ideas already before. I think Cheryl has had to leave. Maybe Eric wants to go ahead or Mats.
Well, if Eric starts, then I could add on, I guess.
The question was how it's going to be implemented, or the timeline of the implementation.
Yeah.
On what timeline? Is it? Now it's been a while since I've read the actual text in the farm to fork strategy, but I believe it's 2030 where a lot of the goals were to be met for the farm to fork strategy, reducing mineral fertilizer use, reducing nutrient losses. The mineral fertilizer use, I think, was reducing it by 20%. So I've always kind of interpreted that's the nutrient recycling strategy, is that turning the unless I'm remembering or misinterpreting things wrong, that reducing mineral fertilizer use by 20% by recycling nutrients, that would mean that by 2030 we should be recycling 20% of the nutrients that we're using. Now, how will we do this? That's a good question. I think I'm a researcher. We need some politicians here, or some people that are sitting on the authority side to help us with some ideas here about how will we do this, essentially, because as we talked about earlier, most recycled nutrient fertilizers cost more money per kilogram nutrient than industrial produced mineral fertilizers. So I don't know that there's really a good strategy. I don't think there's not one laid out in the farm to fork strategy for how to achieve this. So I think that's part of what I think the aim is of PA Nutri Talks, is how are we going to achieve this? We have 5 years left. Mats, you can jump in now. Or Kari.
Yeah, or Kari is about to. I could wait.
Yes, you were right. It's farm to fork strategy meant that we will use 20% less of fertilizers, which would then eventually lead to 50% decrease in nutrient losses. For example, like in Finland, I think these soil amendments, what we are using in southwestern Finland, like gypsum and these fibers, which are used to reduce erosion. So that's the one way to reduce nutrient losses, by keeping the nutrients in field. So I think this is especially in the regions where you have soils which are very easy erodible, like clay soils in southwestern Finland. And also there are some these slow release fertilizers. I think that many of these bio-based fertilizers are such. They are not immediately available. And of course, someone thinks that this might be a bad thing if it's not water soluble, especially phosphorus. But in the Lex for Bio project that ended last year, we tested these different types of bio-based fertilizers across Europe. And these less soluble fertilizers, they were as good as these almost fully water soluble phosphorus fertilizers. So I think that these bio-based fertilizers might be solutions in some cases, but of course you have to know the soil type what you have, because of course these mineral fertilizers, they are very homogeneous. You know exactly what they contain, whereas these recycled fertilizers, they can have a wide concentration of organic matter, which may have an effect on nutrient losses. And in addition to nutrient losses, it may also led to some, let's say, harmful circumstances, for example, heavy metal losses as well, because this organic matter can make complexation with heavy metals, and that might increase heavy metal losses. But I think this is quite little studied so far. But I think there are some ways for reducing nutrient losses and to enhance this nutrient use efficiency. And I think that the best way is that farmers should use only such an amount of fertile nutrients that crop is requiring. So like since mid 70s in Finland, we have reduced drastically the use of phosphorus fertilizers, but still the yield has remained or has increased. So there's still work to do in order to optimize the use of nutrients, so we are not overusing those and causing these problems around in the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, so it seems, or sounds like there are ways to go ahead, but we don't know the timeline yet. But maybe Mats, do you have something to add?
Yeah, well, my input to this regarding the farm to fork strategy and the EU bioeconomy strategy is that there are kind of soft steering mechanisms, and the important thing to move forward in this area and with this question is that we really do set national objectives, goals that are quantified and set in time, and that we very much maybe inspired by what Sari and Kari also has been presenting regarding the Finnish policy initiatives, develops a strategy and a policy mix to work with these questions. There is no one single button to push, and if there are no hard papers or really steering mechanisms from the EU, you have to take decisions on local level or on national level. And I think we could maybe start working and developing policy and kind of lifting these questions in together within the Baltic Sea region towards our politicians. In Sweden, things are in one way happening at this moment, but that is not because of the bioeconomy strategy or the farm to fork strategy. It's the EU sealing directive for ammonia, where Sweden is in a bad position, and therefore our government is moving now on the nitrogen and the nutrient arena. And so until there are hard papers coming from the EU, you have